Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, audience. Before we start our presentation, I would like to say thank you to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala who has given me chance to finish this paper. Second, salawat and salam always we given to our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has brought us from darkness to the lightness. Here, I'm Prili pharmacy students. I would like to deliver my presentation based on my paper. The title is Opinions of Former COVID-19 Patients on Their Survival. Then, before we go to the main presentation, I would like to deliver the outline first. There are introduction, literature review, research methods, results, discussion, and conclusion. For the introduction is coronavirus is a part of humans' life nowadays, but does not mean the humans can feel safe living with the coronavirus. COVID-19, or known as coronavirus 2019, has made a big impact on human life in various parts of the world. In each country, there is a lot of data that lists a very high death rate due to COVID-19. According to WHO standards, the current global death rate is 239%. Even so, the spread of COVID-19 spreads very quickly, even though the death rate was 239%. Then this is the literature review. There are theoretical framework and empirical. First, theoretical framework. The theoretical framework from this paper is the world is currently on alert for the spread of a virus known as the coronavirus. Coronavirus, or COV, is part of family of coronaviruses that cause illness ranging from the flu to more severe illnesses such as Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, or we call it MERS-CoV, and severe acute respiratory syndrome, or we call it SARS-CoV. And in Indonesia, as one of the countries that has cases of COVID-19, the level of victims who are in the hospital is very large. Not a few patients who died from various cities and even villages. Symptoms and cases for each patient are different, so that there are several consequences for each patient that are different, such as patient safety, and there are also causes of the patient safety and mortality rates that have an effect the physiological or the patient's perspective in dealing with COVID-19. And this the empirical. Have been several studies on various experiences of health workers, and one of them is nurses' experience in handling patients with COVID-19 in hospitals in Jakarta in 2020 by Opan Sugiman, Agung Waluyo, and Diana Irawati. Research related to the opinions of former COVID-19 patients on their survival has never been done before. And research methods. This research will be conducted by conducting interviews, qualitative, with the object to be researched and making it easier for research to find out the cause. Respondents for interview in this study are former patients of COVID-19, and there are 4 respondents who participate for interview. And the respondents info. For respondent 1, the age 42 years old, worked as assistant regents, and the respondent 1 is male. Next, for respondent 2, the age 32 years old, and she's worked as math teacher. Then for respondent 3, 27 years old as nurse, and the last respondent is his age 32 years old, and he works as doctor. And the results from interview is for question number 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, and 13. On several questions, the respondent agreed and had the same answer. The finding of similarities in the answer because these questions are common questions that all patients know. The question for number 1 is what do you think about COVID-19 and how do you feel when you find yourself exposed to COVID-19? And for number 4, the question is, do you have comorbidities? And then for question number 5 is, are the facilities in the quarantine place adequate? And then for question number 6 is, are patients exposed to COVID-19 different yet based on severity? And then for number 7, the question is, how do doctors and nurses treat patients? And for number 10, the question is, what activities are carried out at the quarantine place? And for number 13, the question is, how do you respond to patients who have died from COVID-19? And then next, for results from question number 2, the question is, how do you feel when you are in quarantine? The results for respondents 1 and 2 felt the same way, that nervous, but in the end felt relief. And respondent 1, uh, because he is in one room with his friends, that he feel relief. And respondent 2, one room with her son. And then for respondent 3 and 4, they feel lonely and they also don't expect it because they have been trying to do health protocols. And then for question number 3 is, what initial symptoms did you feel before testing positive for COVID-19? The result is respondents 1, 2, and 3 have same symptoms, which is dry cough, fever, and headache. Meanwhile, respondent 4 doesn't have any symptoms. Then for question number 8 is, what medication are carried out while in quarantine? Then the respondents 1, 2, and 3 said the medication they consume are vitamins, fever reducer, and other medicines because they have symptoms. Meanwhile, respondent 4 only given some vitamins, especially vitamin C, because he has no symptoms. Then for question number 9, the question is, when doing treatment, how does the medicinal effect in the body, and is there any change? And the results and response from respondents number 1 and 2 said there are any change in a fairly short time when they consume medicine. Meanwhile, for respondent 3, feels same way, but it feels in a rather long time uh, to time compared to respondent 1 and 2, I mean. And then respondent 4 didn't feel any change beside he just consumed vitamins. And then question number 11, for number 11 is, what made you feel uncomfortable or stressed during quarantine? The respondent number 1 don't feel stressed and uncomfortable anymore since he know that his roommates are his friends. And for respondents number 2, sometimes she feels stressed during quarantine, but it's just sometimes. And respondent 3 and 4, they feel uncomfortable because there are few of patients in others rooms talk about them, like how can doctor and nurses can got COVID-19, like that. And then for question number 12, the question is, how do you feel when you know that another patient has been allowed to go home or has been declared cured? The results for respondents number 1 and 2 answered that they didn't feel sad or anxious. In fact, they felt happy and motivated to recover. And respondent 3 and 4 felt relief. As the health workers, they more enthusiasm to recover and educate other person in quarantine. Then, question number 14. The question is, what is your motivation to recover? And the results and response from our respondents 1 and 2 said that their motivation is of course family because they already have a family. Meanwhile, respondent 3 said her motivation is her God, and respondent 4 said his motivation is looking all patient who recovered. Then for the last question is question number 15. The question is, how long have you been quarantined? And results for respondent 2, 3, and 4 have been quarantined for 14 days, and respondent 1 have been quarantined for 10 days. Faster than respondent 2, 3, and 4. Then for the next slide is discussion. In discussion, this is study demonstrate about opinions of former patient COVID-19 on their survival. This research came up with 3 research questions, which are: what is former of patient point of view about COVID-19? Then, what is their opinions that patient cannot survive from the COVID-19? And the last question, what is their motivation for recovering themselves while infected COVID-19? Uh, and here there are many similarities in the responses of all respondents, and many interesting things can be found about the daily life of patients with different status. And the respondents were very cooperative with the questions given to make the interview easier. Overall, response of respondents in solving and the answers they have answered and explained have give us new understanding and broke bad prejudice about the situation that occurs in quarantine. And now for the conclusion. In this study, there are many experiences that describe the lives of people in quarantine. Many people are reluctant to be quarantined for reason of fear, fear of getting bad treatment from health workers and even political problems and so on. But in fact, quarantine is the only way to reduce the number of COVID-19 cases in Indonesia. And from the result of the conversation between the researcher and the respondents, it can be seen that the respondents considered that being quarantined was not bad. It actually helped the patient to recover quickly, while that was only a predetermined decision which we certainly did our best to avoid. And this study, I hope, will assist upon the mindset of people who don't understand how the lives of patient in quarantine. And if something unwanted happens, the community will follow and comply with what good action we should take if they are in their situation, and will be more vigilant and maintain health protocol. Then for audience, I think enough the presentation from me. I hope it will so useful for us and other people. And thank you very much for your nice